Hi everyone, my name is Shirell. I am with Sonoma Ridge Apartments in Atlanta, Georgia. And tonight we're going to talk about Martin Luther King Jr. Day, civil rights, past and present. So, what is Martin Luther King Jr. Day? MLK Day is a federally observed holiday in the United States that honors the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's typically observed on the third Monday of January annually. So who is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Dr. King was a Baptist minister and a chief spokesperson for nonviolent activism in the civil rights movement, which protested racial discrimination in both federal and state law. He was a native of Atlanta, Georgia, and he was a graduate of Morehouse College, a historically black college, and the Atlanta University Center. So what are civil rights, you ask? Civil rights are guarantees of equal social opportunities and protection under law, regardless of your race, your religion, or other characteristics. It's protection from unlawful discrimination. So some of the examples of civil rights would include like your right to vote. It would include your right to a fair trial in a court of law. It refers to your right to access government services, and also your right to a public education. So some of you may be asking, well, what did Martin Luther King Jr. do? He helped to advance civil rights through a non-violent approach. He also used civil disobedience to expose injustices. Dr. King participated and led a number of marches for blacks or African Americans for their rights to vote, desegregation, and labor rights. Some of his most notable acts included the Montgomery bus boycott. The boycott lasted for 1 year and 16 days from December 5th, 1955 to December 20th, 1956. 75% of the bus riders of that system in Montgomery were black people. There were no black bus drivers. Blacks were forced to ride in the back of the bus or give up their seats to white people. And also, let's see. Also, the U.S. Supreme Court actually declared later that Alabama and Montgomery, their laws were unconstitutional. So that boycott led to the loss of very high revenues for the bus system in Montgomery because, like I said, 75% of the bus riders were black people. So they decided to walk. They decided to carpool and find other means and measures to get to work or travel or do what it was that they needed to do. Other noteworthy acts included organized march from Selma, Alabama to the Capitol in Montgomery, which was 54 miles, and that was known as Bloody Sunday. That was on March 7th, 1965. And that Bloody Sunday opened the nation's eyes to injustices, racial discrimination, and social inequality taking place across our country. Dr. King also led the March on Washington, where he delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. In 1964, he won the Nobel Peace Prize for combating racial inequality through nonviolent measures or nonviolent resistance. So, during his time, there were students across the country that used Dr. King's nonviolent tactics and led a number of peaceful demonstrations like sit-ins at lunch counters. And sometimes you have to sit down to take a stance. So I challenge you to think about a time, or can you think about a time where someone sat down or knelt down, to take a stance? There's things happening all across our country now where people are taking a stance. There's different movements, different nonviolent acts that people are taking. Look at some of the NFL players, some of who took a knee or take a knee. A lot of the demonstrators who are doing they can't breathe or different blackout dates to block revenues. There are some peaceful riots, and it's for police brutality or police protection or Black Lives Matter. But think about some different things that are going on with our civil rights that affect everyone socially, anywhere. So I want to leave you with a few quotes of Dr. King's, some that are really famous, some that mean a lot, and I'm just going to read them off. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The time is always right to do what is right. A riot is the language of the unheard. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And one of my personal favorite quotes of Dr. King is, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy." So again, I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He's very well known here in Atlanta, Georgia. This is his home. There is a King Center down in the Auburn and Edgewood area. It's a free center that you're able to visit. You can see his childhood home, Ebenezer Baptist Church, where he taught at, or he preached at, which was also the home to Warnock, who recently won the runoff election. So think about times, that we're dealing with now across our country, the different movements, the different civil rights, everything that's taking place. And just think about that and how it kind of relates to us today. Thank you for joining me. Have a great night.